In these slides, we'll discuss about plant viruses, their morphology, physical and chemical properties, and their nutrition. As we discussed before, that a virus is a supermolecular complex that can replicate within appropriate living host cells. It is a submicroscopic, obligate, infective, and filterable entity which is nucleoproteinic in nature. It is placed in mesobiotic group of plant pathogens. I have told you before what is mesobiotic. You can look into the previous videos. They consist of DNA or RNA surrounded by a protein capsid or membranous envelope. It is further divided into different groups. The difference between the capsid and membranous envelope is given in the next slides. Capsid or membranous envelope. It is further divided into different groups. They are divided into viroids. Viroids are smaller, low molecular weight ribonucleic acids that can infect plant cells, replicate themselves, and cause diseases. In other way, we can say viroids are naked RNA molecules having no protein coat. Similarly, the other category of this group is virions. Virions, virions are complete infectious virus particles. They contain both nucleic acid and protein coat. The prions, these are different from virions. Prions are the viral proteins which are infectious in nature. So if we look at the morphology of the viral particles, the virus consists of nucleic acid and protein. Protein forms a protective coat around the nucleic acid called capsid. If lipid layer is present in the protein coat of virus, it is called envelope. So capsid is different from envelope. Capsid is only the protein, but if there is lipid layer present in the protein coat, then that will be called envelope. The viruses are called obligate parasites because these replicate or multiplied only inside the host, living host, but not in artificial media. There are different morphological forms of viruses. For example, they could be rod-shaped. Tobacco mosaic virus is an example of rod-shaped viruses. They could be flexible threads or flexuous in nature. Maize dwarf viruses are example of flexible threads. They could be geminate or circular. Cotton leaf curl virus is an example of geminate or circular viruses, or they could be rhabdo-shaped. Rhabdo-shaped includes cucumber mosaic virus. Here we have some pictures of these viruses. For example, flexible threads, they are photoviruses, and cylindrical, they are these Bedna viruses. Rod-shaped, these are tobacco mosaic virus, Tobama virus, and bipartite polyhedral Gemini viruses look like circular viruses. So this is a complete kind of shapes and sizes and different structures of the different plant viruses. For example, in A, you can see these flexus thread-like viruses. This is virus protein coat is around the virus, and that is enclosing or encapsulating this nucleic acid molecule inside. In B, there are different kinds. In the rod-shaped viruses, in B1, you can see the side arrangement of protein subunits, and nucleic acid is inside these side subunits. In virus A and B both have similar kind of structure. Here you can see this hollow core that has this nucleic acid inside the hollow core. In C, these are actually bacillus-like viruses. These are short in size. If you see the cross section of these viruses, so here in C1 you can see the cross section of this bacillus like virus. Similarly in D, here in D, these are polyhedral virus. D1 shows this kind of 20-sided symmetry of these protein subunits. And these are also called the isometric viruses. So Gemini viruses in E, these are actually consist of twin particles. So physical properties and survival of the viruses, as I told you before, these are acellular or non-cellular. These does not have this cellular machinery. They are submicroscopic. They are very small. They cannot be seen with an ordinary microscope. We have to look into these structures by using very strong electron microscope. These are submicroscopic, having different numbers of particles, like they could be mono, biparticles, triparticles, or multiple type of particles. And they live inside the host, but some of them can remain infective outside the host. For example, tobacco mosaic virus can remain infective for around 50 years outside the host. So that is why that is very dangerous virus. So their physical structure or properties depends on pH stability, temperature tolerance, and type of light. Temperature, how temperature affects the physical properties of the viruses. It increase in activation with increasing temperature. If the temperature is increasing, the inactivation is increased. Most are inactivated rapidly above 40 degrees centigrade. Most of the viruses are vulnerable to the temperature above 50 degrees centigrade. Some are more tolerant to the temperature. For example, the hepatitis A virus that is more tolerant to the temperature. Chemical composition of the media influences survival, and protein and other organic and inorganic ions protect the viruses. The chemical composition of the viruses. Generally very stable at ultra cold temperatures. So the lower temperature, they are not infected by the freezing and defrosting processes. However, some loss of infectivity occurs with freezing and defrosting processes. Similarly, pH also affects the physical structure. Directly affects on the conformation of proteins and other biomolecules of the viruses. The viruses are stable inside the pH range of 2 to 9. pH range of stability depends on groups of viruses, different groups of viruses. For example, poliovirus, pH of 3.8 to 8.8 for maximum stability of the virus. Light also affects the virus physical conditions. Virucidal activity of UV light is greater in air than in liquid media. Photosensitivity is virus type dependent and may be related to the enveloped. Non-enveloped viruses like poliovirus and adenoviruses and FMDV are more stable to UV light than enveloped viruses. Chemical properties, type of nucleic acid could be RNA or DNA, that could be single stranded or double stranded, that could be positive or negative strand. A plant virus may consist of 5 to 40% of the nucleic acid and 60 to 95% of protein. Nutrition, viruses have no nutrition, no metabolic system as well, because they use the energy from the host, and they use the machinery of host for replication, and this is why they do not have any mechanism of nutrition.